government had the Hire Act, where if you hired someone that was unemployed for a certain amount of time and other criteria, and they worked for you for like a year, whatever it was, you know, you get a credit for basically bringing that person out of unemployment.
The other side of that Chiquita transfer, though, was that Cincinnati lost most of its international flights.
Yeah.
And we here are about to lose our only flight to New York City. And I refer to that as economic ambiance. And I know of two businesses that are just furious about that because they're on that plane all the time. And I think that's something that we need, I mean, whether it's a group or just to talk to the folks at the airport and to see and to encourage somehow, whether it's Delta or US Air or something else, because I think that's going to hurt us in 2012, 13, and 14 if we don't have that some kind of a flight other than Philadelphia.
There's basic transportation infrastructure. You can, I guess you can have the physical ingredients, but if the corresponding flights and the connections aren't there,
I mean, that's always been an issue for the film industry. No one wants to take 2 flights from LA to get here. I mean, it's always been, especially commercials, they can't stand it. I mean, because it's such short, fast pace, and they don't want to have to take, you know, 2 flights to just get into.
And that's where we had discussions with the airport, and they would not even fully put that in.
I'll tell you, we had a direct flight from, you know, I don't know, even Chicago. We would have commercials here like gangbusters. We have Chicago. Or okay, maybe not Chicago, but I don't know.
The biggest problem is that LA can't stand flying in Charlotte. They hate it. And that's your biggest obstacle. So, I don't know how you're going to fix it. It's not going to fly direct to Wilmington.
Has anyone, I don't know much about the financial side of what Asheville did in developing the microbrewery community in Asheville, North Carolina. I don't know how much money was put at that, but I know that they put a lot of infrastructure in the community in training and programs at the community college and incubators for a very specific industry. And what, there's like 12 microbreweries there now, and they were rated as beer capital of the United States last year for tourism because it's such a, but it was interesting because they made a decision that we have a culture here that supports it, and we have a couple of businesses who are doing really great with it. What can we do? And they made that looking forward of going, like you were saying, you know, 5 or 10 years down the road, we can develop this. No, it's not the one big company coming in that is a splash, but they have made a big difference. I mean, they have put themselves on the map for the rest of the country to say, I want to go to Asheville. And companies have moved from the West Coast to be in that environment. I mean, I think if we could target an industry that we want here and that works like we are with film, but more than that, I mean, you know, other smaller niche industries that we want in our community.
I think that's a very valid.
I don't know how you do it or what you target, but I mean, you look at your resources.
The community colleges support it. I mean, so they create an environment where people can go through the programs and succeed and live there and make on something that they like to do.
Yeah.
So you have to connect those.
Breweries is such a perfect idea because it's like a force multiplier because you have production. And then you have all these people who want to go to the breweries. It's like tourism and production in one. Like whatever you spent, you got 2x out of what you thought you were going to get because people travel to Asheville to go try the beer, but they're pumping all this beer out of there. It's like a great, I mean, that kind of industry is so great because it's attractive to just go see it happen, you know. It's a neat idea.
It sounds like something out of Russia. Full stomach is required for long-term thinking. But just what you were saying, what you were saying about the short-term thinking versus long-term thinking. I mean, so if you dial the clock back and we did get Continental Tire, do you want Continental Tire? I mean, we've been discussing things here about, I mean, non-polluting industries and the microbreweries, film industry. I mean, you could make a case if you wanted to be a really sort of aggressive environmentalist that it's a dinosaur how do you reconcile that? I mean, how do you tell 1,300 people if you do have the ability to have them here, we don't want them here? I mean, that triggers all the type of stuff out there, but, I mean, that's not as extreme an example, which is a lot more benign, maybe industry than something that's conspicuous as title, but it's still sort of the same dilemma. You know, where do you put your resources? What do you incentivize? And people South Carolina rue the day that they gave away that much money 20 years from now as the present value of what they gave away, not even half of what they're getting. And I guess it gets back to Bill's point too about having somebody who can really calculate the effects of those things, because there's huge decisions being made that have 20, 30-year impact.
And in those,
There's about 1,500 questions, and I'll let Randy he jump in.
but yeah, but in those industries, if you're saying, it's going to make the area itself less attractive, then there's obviously negative financial impacts to that too. That's a tough thing to quantify.
And at what point does the sort of erosion of the visual and cultural and environmental quality of the region start to affect your ability to attract people to come in and film?
Another industry that seems to be getting some legs underneath it is the marine biotech. And I think as far as embracing that, but then it surprises me because then you hear, as far as Cape Fear Community College, they're going to lose, we're going to lose the funding for the marine tech program, and that they have to go out there and fight for it. It just seems like that we say in one breath that we want certain things, and then all of the actions that, I won't say all of the actions or all of our leaders or anything like that, I don't want to be so generalistic, but that it's just, it's not matching. We say we want these things, but then we don't take the actions that are actually going to support those things that we say that we want or that we say that are goals. As far as another industry possibly that we could kind of focus on, like you were talking about with microbrewing, would be, the first thing that pops into my head, for us is the marine biotech.
Questions, comments, thoughts?
When are we going to get down to a flat tax? How about that? I'm kidding.
That's a good question. My thoughts are that the whole system is so convoluted at the moment that it's kind of hard to, it'd be like ripping out the heart, but maybe a little bit.
I guess the 999 plan's on hold for a little
I was going to go there, but I see you jumped in there.
There's 4 pizzas for $9.99. He's just redefining the plan.
But I appreciate everyone coming out this evening and kind of jumping in here. It worked out well, I think, with you guys kind of chiming in. My presentation was just kind of get the thoughts flowing and the general topic and to hear everyone's thoughts and feelings on everything. And it sounds like one of our action items is trying to figure out those industries, markets that it makes sense for Wilmington to target and who Wilmington wants to be, and figuring out what needs to happen, whether it's with the community college or others, to kind of help make those things happen. And then, we obviously have a pretty good presence or group of people in the film industry that are fighting for things here and kind of keeping an eye on that. But we also need, like you said, additional other industries out there. And it's these little things like, you mentioned the flight changing, that's not going to become a news story until it's become, is an issue down the road. But
or somebody doesn't want to come here because we don't have that flight anymore.
So it's those kinds of things we need to stay on top of and try to. But I appreciate everyone coming out.
Thanks.